Hello, welcome to my next video. This is on comparing and sorting fractions. I'm Mrs. Quinn, the virtual teaching assistant. Let's get started. Okay, what are fractions? I always go over this in any of my videos. I'd just like to recap what they are and just give you a bit of that underpinning knowledge. Fractions basically show the value of part of a whole. Similar to percentage and decimals, it's just a different way of showing the information, okay? So you can get different fractions to show equivalent amounts, but they'll show different numerical values. So for example, if a half is the same as 2 quarters, 3 sixths, 4 eighths, 5 tenths and 6 twelfths. Now, to put that in a visual representation, think of a pizza, okay? If I just cut it in 2 pieces and ate 1/2 of it, okay, that'd be exactly the same as cutting it into 12 pieces and eating 6 pieces of it. All right, just for that visual representation. The whole in fractions is symbolized by the given number and it's used as the denominator, which is the bottom number. So when the numerator, the top number, and the denominator are exactly the same, that makes a whole. So instead, if I had 12 twelfths, I'd have eaten a whole pizza. To find equivalent fractions, all you need to do is multiply your denominator. Now, anything you do to your denominator at all, multiply, divide, subtract, add, you must do the same to the numerator, otherwise that will change your fraction. Okay, so here I'm going to show you how we get equivalent fractions, and all I'm going to do is I'm just multiplying the numerator and the denominator, okay? So these are all basically exactly the same portion size as a quarter. So 2 eighths, 3 twelfths, 4 sixths, 5 20ths, and 6 24ths. And, you know, a quick way to check it is, how do we find a quarter of something? We divide it by 4. Okay, 24 divided by 4 is 6. Okay, so I'll do that for all of these as well. Okay, so have a look and see how many equivalent fractions you can make. You can just go on and on and on, basically, in your times tables, and this is how your times table knowledge helps you right across maths and your learning. Okay, next, sorting fractions. So when the denominators are the same, this is very, very easy to do. Okay, all you need to do here is just look at the numerator and we're just sorting them. Okay, now there are much quicker ways to sort fractions as well, but when the denominator's all the same, it's very easy, as you've just seen. We're just looking at the numerator, which is the top number, smallest to largest, if the denominators are different. Now, there are quite a few ways you can do this, okay? Now, probably the quickest, most efficient way to do it is cross multiplication, but as part of the curriculum, you need to understand how and why. So it's, you know, matching the denominators and finding the common denominator and multiplying the denominators. So it's understanding that process first. So I am going to show you cross multiplication, but first I'm going to show you the longer way to sort and compare fractions. Okay, so here I've got different denominators with all of my fractions. And the first thing I need to do is find the common denominator. Okay, so what number appears in all of these times tables? So I need to find a multiple of all of these numbers, okay? So I need to use my multiplication facts. So I know that because there's a 10 times table up there, it's going to have to end in a 0. So the number that all these are going to have in common has to end in a 0. So this will help me a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all my times tables, or use your times table knowledge. I'm just writing out my times tables here. Okay, so I've got my 3, my 6, my 5s, my 9s, my 10s, and my 15s. And you'll see that there are a few numbers here where they cross over, but they don't cross over all of them, okay? And they don't end in a 0, so they can't be our common denominator. The first common denominator we have that crosses all of them is 90. Now, don't get discouraged if your common denominator doesn't appear until well into your hundreds or even 200s. It just appears where it appears, so don't worry, just find it, okay? It doesn't matter. You can simplify the fraction after, okay? So what we need to do now is we need to try and make all of these, the denominators at the bottom, turn into 90, okay? So I need to multiply them. Now, because they're all different, I'm going to need to multiply them by different amounts to get them to make 90, All right. So, and remember, anything I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So with 9, I have to multiply it by 10 to get 90, okay? With 5, I'm going to have to multiply it by 18 to get 90. And you'll see my numerators have changed as well. So let's do this for all of them. Okay, now I'm going to sort them smallest to largest, and I'm going to find it a lot easier now because all my denominators are exactly the same. So just like on the previous screen, I just need to look at my numerators and go for the smallest number up to the largest number. Okay? Now, what I want you to do here is pause it and just make a note of the order, okay, the smallest to largest, because on the next screen, I want you to compare because you're going to get exactly the same answer, but from a much quicker method and a much more efficient method, okay? But I would say that once you understand this and your equivalent fractions and things like that, then it's better to do cross multiplication, okay? Because you're understanding the why. All right, let's move on. Cross multiplication is quick and efficient. You can only compare two fractions at a time. So once you understand your fractions and their equivalents and know how to find the common denominators, this is a much simpler way, like I was just saying. So once you understand all the ins and outs, then this is the best way to just do it quickly. Okay? What you need to do is, I've just set up two side by side here. It's all the same fractions from my previous screen, okay? And I've put them side by side like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my first numerator and I'm going to multiply it by my second denominator, okay? 3 times 5, and that gives me a value of 15. Now this is the number that is going to help me sort my fractions into numerical value. I'm going to put that number under here. Now, I'm going to then do my denominator on the first fraction and times that by the numerator on the second fraction, okay? Thus giving it the cross, which is how it gets its name, okay? And that gives me 36. So I'm going to do the same thing now for all of these. And as you'll see, the numbers underneath now, I can sort them from smallest to largest, okay? Now, if you check yours, you'll see that the order does match. The only thing you need to do different now is where these numbers are exactly the same, the only bit extra I did is I compared these one off against the other. So, and the order is exactly the same as on the previous screen. I hope this has been a bit useful for you, and I hope it's helped. I know it's quite a whistle-stop tour, but the idea is I want to keep the videos as short as possible. If you've got any comments, any feedback at all, please let me know. And please share if you found it helpful. Thank you. Bye.